Our first presenter will be Dr. James Brewer. And Dr. Brewer is a statewide resource soil scientist in Easton, Maryland with the NRCS. He currently provides technical assistance for Farm Bill programs, the Farmland Protection Policy Act, and program appeals. He works to delineate wetlands and provides determinations for the Food Security Act. He provides training in soils and soil survey and supports educational activities. And he provides on-site technical assistance to all NRCS field offices. Before working for NRCS, Dr. Brewer was with the Soil Conservation Service in Maryland and Utah, and then returned to Maryland as a soil survey party leader for the Dorchester County Soil Survey Update, and then completed soil survey updates for Dorchester, Wicomico, Talbot, and Caroline counties. Today, he will be presenting his presentation titled Using the Web Soil Survey. All right, Dr. Brewer, I'll turn the screen over to you.
Thank you, Anastasia. Thanks for the graduate degree also as a PhD. I never got that. Can you hear me? That's all right.
Yes, sorry about that.
That's all right.
But
yeah,
I can hear you loud and clear.
Anyway, so I appreciate that. I'm gonna be bouncing back and forth between the PowerPoint, which will be available to everyone, and the Web Soil Survey Live to see if we can pull it off here, and then a couple other folders possibly too. But beginning off here, a couple of the slides basically of what this Web Soil Survey is. The biggest thing is that it replaces our hard copies, and it's the official soil survey data. So none of the other information out there is official anymore. It's always good to have those old references of the old soil survey hardback books. And we have why we want to use the Web Soil Survey. Its access is pretty good when you have a good computer, and you can do a lot of information, get a lot of information of it, and create your own reports. So this is that opening page of the Web Soil Survey. Got a lot of information on it. You can see over here on the left, these are a lot of different links, so where we have a lot of good information, official soil series description, where the soil series are mapped across the United States, their extent. And then this one here, Geospatial Data Gateway. It's a really good site that NRCS has that has a lot of geodata on it as far as all the ortho photographs, hydrology, the tiger files for roads, land use data, soils data, a lot of information that you can download there for free. And then over here on the right side, a lot of information on how to use the Web Soil Survey, particularly one that's on here, and I'll just jump real quick, see if this is going to work. And I know there's a little bit of a delay on the slides here to the from the PowerPoint to the web, but down here on the right side, tips and shortcuts to the Web Soil Survey. A lot of good information that you can use there. The standard of how the basic 4 steps for those who haven't used it quite a bit as far as the Web Soil Survey, getting your area of interest, clicking on the Soil Map tab once you have your area of interest, and then using the Soil Data Explorer to look for the interpretations and suitability tables that we have available, and then our free shopping cart checkout that you can check out and download all that information. Back to the slide presentation. Again, just pointing out those areas that I just talked about. Again, we talked about the Gateway, USGS topo maps available, climatic maps, watershed maps for basic ways. Start it up, we click on the Start button, and then across the top on the first page we have different things that are pretty important here. The subscribe button is good to have because you can subscribe to the Web Soil Survey, and then anytime there's an update or change to it, they will notify you by email that it's occurred. Currently, right now, we update the soil data across the United States at the end of every fiscal year. So approximately the first, second week in October, there will usually be an update for the Web Soil Survey. Sometimes it affects the maps, sometimes it affects the attribute data or the tabular data. sometimes it doesn't affect it. It's something that was updated in the background. Just recently, we had an update with some organic matter content on some of our soils that we updated. And then last year, we had a big update on hydrologic soil groups, K factor and T factor values, which changed a lot of those tables. Also here, you can archive the old soil surveys if we happen to have them, if we had them digitized and scanned. You can get some of those. Soil survey status, it'll tell you the status of any soil survey in the United States as far as is it being updated, is it available online or not. Glossary of terms, preferences for the site itself, and the link, which I'll come to in a minute. The search, open, and close buttons, again, these up buttons, you click on them to close out, down buttons over here, open things up, and then, of course, the question mark buttons give you help and give you an idea of what any questions you have on that particular window that you're looking at. Download soils data. So this is where you can download the soils data from the web and put it into a ARC environment, ArcGIS environment with the spatial data, and or you can put the tabular data into an environment of a Microsoft Access template. I'm going to show you what that looks like here. Basically, when you download the data, it'll come up with a window here. Here's Maryland. I'm downloading Dorchester County, and down here is the actual link. Shows a zip file that you click on, and it will download through an email, your email account, and that's your email account, and it'll download to your email, and then you would click on it and unzip it and place it in a folder convenient to you. And what that's going to look like, I'm going to flip over to that on my computer. This is what basically the folders that you'll get: the spatial data folder, the tabular data folder, and then the Access template file. Spatial data is the important folder if you're going to gather that data and put it into a ArcGIS environment. That's where you would go to this folder here to load up the map unit and the delineations for that use in a GIS. But here, the Access template, this is similar to what was on the old soil data mark that we used to have, which isn't available anymore. But if you double click on that, it actually brings up the MS Access template window, and you can see it's very similar to what we had here before. It's also similar to what we see in Soil Data Viewer, one of our extensions for ArcGIS. But it has a list of all the map units in the particular county that you're looking at, and then down here below, it has a list of all the tables, interpretations, and suitabilities that are available that you can pick and choose from. So this is something that's pretty nice to have, because you don't have to go on the web to get that data. Let's say that you wanted, you're looking at a farm or something like that, and they have a couple map units. You can go up here and highlight the map units that you want. Either you can highlight all of them, or using the control button, you can highlight 2 or 3 or 4 of them. And then going down and say I just want to print out some brief descriptions of the map units. Right here we have the map unit description, brief generated, which is really the only one that's available in this environment here with the MS Access. So we click on that. We can include the monitor soils. Some of that data has been populated, some of it hasn't. Got a description of that particular report. You generate that report. It's pretty fast. It comes up in another window here. If you can blow it up and take a look at it, and it's got that brief description, which is pretty good to give in any of your reports that you're giving your customer. And of course, you can export this into Excel, into a text, or into a PDF file, and be able to print that out for your customer. Close that out. I think we're done with that for now. Going back to the PowerPoint, again, some of these slides, again, I've got them on here with the PowerPoint, since this will be available to you after the webinar today. Make sure when you're on the web soil survey, you disable any pop-up blockers that could have a problem using the web. First thing we want to do is look at the area of interest, the AOI. There's several ways of doing it now. Down below here, there's like 10 different ways we can see here: address, state and county, soil survey area, Latin lawn, etc. Once you get your area of interest, and it's a blue hatched area, basically you can click on the soil map, and it'll populate it and bring up a soil map of that area of interest, whether it's just a farm or whether it's a larger area. The Web Soil Survey is able to accommodate almost 100,000 acres now with ability to create a soil map on that. And then the Soil Data Explorer, we'll see all these tabs here in a minute, basically is all the information that you can choose from for the tables and the interpretations and properties of the soil. And then, of course, the shopping cart, you can send anything to the shopping cart at any time, and it puts it back into the background for you, and then you're able to print that out or save it as a PDF file later and be able to print it out. So here we're navigating. This was just one way of doing it by address. Here I've got address I plugged in here. Again, this is the PowerPoint. You click on the view of that address, and both of these views are the same. One's at the top and one's at the bottom for convenience. Click on that, and it brings out a little cross mark there where that actual address is. And at that point in time, you can go to your AOI button here and either click and draw and make a rectangle or a square of the area of interest, or you can actually click and hold down the button, the left button, and then draw an outline of the area of interest that you want. Like as if you can do it basically like if you're looking at a particular farm and clicking in and drawing out the boundaries. So real quick, just to show you, we got here doing that. I just outlined this area here on the slide, and it shows that this is the CG County. And you get that blue hash mark when you have your area of interest working, basically, that it's found it. That's where the buttons start to light up here, and you can click on it, soil map button. You can label it here. In this case, I just labeled it Firehouse area. And you can blow it up to a full screen and take a look at it at any time. These are other ways of creating your area of interest as far as from a GIS system, from a shapefile. If you have a shapefile that you created an area of interest or an area in your GIS, an ARC map or whatever, you can actually upload that into Web Soil Survey now and create an area of interest from that. So that kind of makes it good that you can kind of go back and forth from a GIS system here to the Web Soil Survey. Also, at any time that you create an area of interest, say on the Web Soil Survey, in this case here I just did a rectangle here, square of an area of interest, you can go up to the link button and it'll give you a link to this area of interest that you can take that link and right-click and save it as a favorite or as a bookmark, and then you can come back to it. So this is kind of convenient once you start to, if it's getting close to the end of the day and you're working on something in Web Soil Survey, you can save that area of interest and go back to it the next day. Also, one of the latest things we've had is exporting the area of interest. Like I said, you can export it as a zipped shapefile, and you can download that area of interest into your GIS system. So that's, again, another new caveat that we have here with the Web Soil Survey. So creating the soil map here, if you clicked on the soil map from that area of interest, it comes up with soil map here that's shown on the right, and then over here on the left is a list of all the map unit symbols and all the map unit names, the acreage in the area of interest, and the percentage of those map units in the area of interest. This is just a little thing about, again, a reminder of what the soil survey is about. I wanted to talk a quick thing about soil series made up of these little polypedons. What you're going to get in the soil survey is a map unit. Everything's based on our map units, soil surveys. Soil survey, 2 examples, Falls into Sandy Loams, 0 to 2% slopes. Ambrook Urban Land Complex, 2 to 5% slopes. Basis of our soil maps, every one of them differs in some respect from the other ones around it. These single ones are monotaxi map units that have one major component, and multi-taxis like the complexes have 2 or more major components. This is very important to understand basically what involves that particular delineation, and then of course that information is going to drive the interpretations that we have here. So we have major components, that's what the map unit's named after, and the minor components, which are inclusions in that map unit, which may or may not be actually listed in the map unit description. The ones that are similar are listed in the map unit description. The ones that are similar are basically their concept is included into the major component. Here's just some information on similar soils versus the dissimilar soils in that map unit. Talked about this, the kind of association, single major component and similar soils. Then you can contain up to 15 to 25% minor components, which are dissimilar inclusions. So here's an example of the Fallsington sandy loam. Fallsington sandy loam, that particular soil out there, there's 55% of it in our map unit description. It's a major component. I have some Fallsington loam possibly in that delineation in that map unit. That's a similar soil because it's not a major interpretation to go from a sandy loam to a loam surface texture. About 15% of that. Turlock loamy sand, a little bit similar soil. Again, it's a poorly drained soil, similar to Fallsington, a little bit less clay, so we consider it a similar soil at times. So again, it's a minor component. And then we have minor components, again, of Woodstown, a dissimilar soil, smartly well-drained versus the poorly drained Fallsington. So that's a major interpretation difference. So we want to list that. That's usually spelled out in the map unit description, similar but minor again, about 5%. Zakiah, floodplain soil found along the edges maybe of that delineation of a floodplain area next to the Fallsington map unit. 5% again, dissimilar, being a floodplain soil, very different. And then Hambrook being a somewhat well-drained soil, better water table, deeper water table, a lot of different interpretations, so that becomes a dissimilar soil. So all of these major components and minor components, some similar, some dissimilar, make up that map unit. Pie graph showing that example. And of course the delineation of Fallsington. Here's a delineation of Fallsington sandy loam. Here's a delineation of Fallsington loam. Here's our delineations of Woodstown. So you can tell probably along the edge of that, or close to that edge of that boundary of the Fallsington unit, there might be some inclusions of that dissimilar soil of that, in this particular map unit, let's say of the Woodstown soil, or in this case over here, the Hambrook soil. And these map units, they're not pure. Obviously, the boundary where we drew these things, it's at a certain scale that we drew it, so therefore there are some inclusions of other soils within these units. Again, you could have like a little high spot right here, a little bit higher in elevation, too small to delineate out. That might be the Woodstown soil. So again, that's included in that map unit of Fallsington. Just the difference between complexes and what they look like, and investigations. Soil surveys is one of the important factors. I try to keep telling people that the soil surveys are for broad land use planning. They are not a regulatory map. A lot of people use them as regulatory maps, and they're not. They're used for guidance maps, and you still need to be an on-site specific information in order to get out there on site and see exactly what soil is in that area that what you need information. Whether you're doing well-end determinations like I do a lot, waste structures, but if you're doing broad planning for, say, a farm for nutrient management, the web soil survey is really good. But again, if you wanted to get right down and dirty on one field and take a look at that situation, it would be the matter of going out there and augering some holes and seeing exactly what soil types are in there and what would be considered the map unit or the predominant soil in that field versus the inclusions in that field also. Jumping back to what the web soil survey looks like, here's again the map unit names over here, and clicking on those, you'll come up with a map unit description, which is usually a tabular information description. Tells you the map unit setting, landform that it's on, the slopes, convex or linear, and then properties below that are properties and quantities of different parts of the properties of those soils. And also it has a list of the major and the minor components and their percentages, like I showed on that last slide. Printable version, you can again go up here anytime, get a printable version of your map unit with all the little ticks and all the stuff around here in the legend that you might want. So just exploring that again, learning that you do the web soil survey is not that difficult. There's a lot of different things to it. So it's kind of always nice if you ever wanted to, like, say, take the last half hour of the day or the first half hour or, say, during lunch or something like that, going on there and just kind of going around the website there, the web soil survey, and seeing the different things that you can do with it, which is pretty powerful what can be done. I'm going to jump over to it right now and show you one other thing here. I'll start it up. If you wait about 20 minutes without doing anything, it will expire out on you. So but you can start back with that same session. One of the things I wanted to show you that you don't have to actually have an area of interest that's a small area, or that you can actually download the entire county in the Web Soil Survey. You go to either soil survey area or the state and county. Either one of those will work here in Maryland, because most of our surveys, in fact, all of them are based on county boundaries. But let's just pick here one. Go to Maryland, and I'll pick Caroline County, and I can set that as my AOI. I won't be able to do any maps with it, but I will be able to get all the tabular information and pull the soils data and actually go ahead and print out, or at least develop the tables, any tables information from the Soil Data Explorer on it. So clicking on that, I just clicked on select soil map units, and you can see it's going to bring up the blue hash area of the entire county. Again, it's too big, so I won't be able to reproduce any thematic maps for our information. But down here, it has, again, very similar list to what we had in the MS Access file. You can click on certain individual map units here that you want data on. And then what you'll be able to do is want to go on here and go ahead and so we can select all or select those. So we selected the map units. We go ahead and view those. Going to go ahead and work. And it's every year they get a little bit faster working, so good thing. And once we get that view, if I got it right, again, to see the soil map, it's not highlighted. You can't develop a map from these. You need a smaller area, less than 100,000 acres to do it. But it does open up the Soil Data Explorer to download the soils data. That's already opened up once you select your county. And of course, the shopping cart freeze is always open. You can always go to that and check it out. Soil Data Explorer, we click on that, and it brings up all of the suitabilities, limitations that we want to use, also the soil properties and quantities, and any soil reports also. Suitabilities and limitations for use and soil properties and quantities are the two areas of data that you can create a thematic map from those when you're at the right size. Soil properties, it actually combines several of those interpretations in one table, so that because there's several interpretations, let's say for septic tanks and for sewage lagoons, obviously you can't create a map from that report. But it is good. It's very similar to the reports we had, the old hardback soil surveys. So I'm here. I've already selected a couple of those map units, Caroline County. This, I told you about the down arrows, about opening and closes. You have building site development. You can download down that, and it opens up what we have available for the individual facilities and limitations. So we have all these here. You can open up all of them at one time, and you got all of them open up. And kind of look at them and see what you have. I can't remember exactly. I think there's over 40 of them here. One of the things I wanted to get to show you on this particular thing here, and I've got it on the PowerPoint, and I'll flip probably back to that, but something that you all might be using is the vegetative productivity. And down here we've got irrigated yields and non-irrigated. And of those two, you can get component by the component or the map unit. Well, you can't get the map unit because it hasn't been populated in a database. You can't get the component yield. So if I was to click on that, and it's going to work itself, try to come up with those component non-irrigated years for those 2 or 3 map units that I already selected on the previous thing. And again, it shows you right here what your options. Map, again, you can't have that because we're too big of an area. You can have the table, you can turn it off, the description of the ratings, exactly how those ratings were put together, and any rating options that you might have. And then, of course, down here, you can actually switch from the different types of crops that you want. What we have populated in the database for this irrigated yields and non-irrigated yields are these four crops basically. I think on irrigated yields we actually have probably some more of the truck crops also. But anyway, so normally a lot of our information is based on the corn yields, and you can come down here and you hit view the rating. That's going to give us in a tabular format the rating. I picked two of those, Corsica and Easborough, and it's going to give you that crop yield for those two map units. And here's the description of those particular, that information, that table. Down here gives you a little idea of the rating options that you were used to create that table. Corn was the crop, yields are in bushels, and the aggregation method is weighted average. This is a default aggregation method. And the aggregation method is down here under advanced options that you can change that from weighted average to other methods that we have. And the main reason we have these different methods of aggregation is the computer is trying to put one value on that map unit so it can create a thematic map of that map unit and of that particular table that you'd like. So in this case, the default automatically goes to weighted average, which can kind of throw you if you don't know that, because a lot of times you'll go, well, I've clicked on Matapeak or Matapeak, and I know it's got 100 bushels an acre, but yet I get this thing here that says the bushels per acre are 129. Well, it's taking a weighted average of that entire map unit. Remember, that map unit is more than just that major component when it comes to weighted average. So what it's done with the weighted average, it's taken the number of bushels per acre for Matapex, let's say, or Matapeak, and then it's taken the number of bushels per acre for each of the other components in that map unit, the minor components, multiplied it by the percentage of that map unit for those different components, and divided by 100, and came up with the weighted average of that entire map unit. I think, from what I understand with nutrient management, you've been told to select dominant condition to do that, and let's just go ahead and do that and rerun it. And I'm going to review this all again with the slides. And the dominant condition came up with 80 bushels per acre for our Eavesboro sand, and Corsica mucky loam, it came up with 0. That's basically probably because in this particular case of Caroline County, we didn't populate that particular yield data in Corsica and mucky loam because it's all a wooded area, since it's entirely a wooded area in Caroline County. Some of the other counties, it has been populated with yield data, so you'll be able to get the yield data for that as the dominant condition. Dominant condition, kind of similar to the weighted average. It takes a look at, again, at all the components in there and makes a decision on which one of those, of all those components, what's the dominant bushels per acre that we can assign one value to in order to create that thematic map. Let me jump back over here to the PowerPoint, and I'm going to go through a couple of these real quick. Here we are creating the same thing that we did in the soil survey, in the web soil survey. In this case here, I selected an area of interest small enough that I was able to get a thematic map for it, for the yields. Again, it was corn, dominant component, which again is that condition of the major component. So here it would pick, in this case, Fallsington loam. Whatever that yield was for Fallsington loam as the major component, that's what it produced over here. Here's a complex of Hambrook and sassafras in this particular soil survey area. I think Hambrook in this case was 45%, sassafras was 40. So again, it would pick the largest component percentage-wise for that dominant component, and it came up with 150 for Hambrook. So, like I said, the aggregation method component attribute values are reduced down to a single value, just so you were able to create that thematic map that represents that map unit. Again, the map units are delineated, the individual components are not. So again, it's important the percentages of those components in a lot of these map units. Dominant condition, again, this just shows the up arrow and stuff where you see that dominant components. And then the question mark, you click on it, it opens it up and it gives you the actual information of each one of these aggregation methods and what each one is, the dominant condition, dominant component, so you're able to read that and be able to understand that probably better than I could explain it to you. Dominant condition, like I said, well, it groups the like attribute value, so it's grouping the like yields or the similar drainage classes. We wanted to do it for drainage class of that map unit. It's going to group all the same drainage classes in there. Again, for example, Fallsington, Hurlock, they're both poorly drained, and then we also had in there Woodstown, Zakaya, and Hambrook. Zakaya is poorly drained also. So it's going to pick that Fallsington, say Hurlock, and Zakaya. They're all poorly drained, and it's going to assign the map unit that one condition because that's the most, again, the percentages of the most of them in that map unit. Moderately well-drained Woodstown, the well-drained Hambrook, they're not going to be used in that dominant condition because they're the smaller of them. Again, it's going to associate them, valued associated with the highest percentages of the return unless there's a tiebreaker. And then the tiebreaker rule, you have the option of choosing whether to go high or low with that tiebreaker rule. So again, and here's that example, Fallsington, Hurlock. These similar soils don't pop up, but the dissimilar ones would be evaluated because these are, again, thrown into the actual numbers for Fallsington. So basically, Fallsington would be coming out at about 85%, and then Woodstown, moderate, Sakaya, poorly, Hambrook, well. So again, this Sakaya for dominant condition would be thrown in with the Fallsington. Therefore, that's what would be returned to you for your map and for your data. Dominant component, like I said, it just pulls the highest component that's got the most percent in that particular map unit. Example here, sassafras is 45% in that complex here. I'm sorry, Hambrook 45%, sassafras 35%. Again, this is a similar. These two dissimilars pop up, 5 and 5. So it's going to pick the largest one, that 45% for Hambrook. That's what the value you're going to reach. In this example here, it's the K factor that's 4. Component tiebreaker rule turns the highest or lowest values and isn't considered. You can pick and choose whether you want the minimum or the maximum value. So you could actually say, give me the minimum of my yields in that particular map unit, and it will bring you out the soil that's got the minimum yields in the map unit. Weighted average, we talked about that. Again, it assigns that weighted average to each one of the to the map unit. Soil properties and quantities, 46 of those reports. That's the other tab over. And again, just running through this, I've got an AOI of an area here. Here's a list of those showing up, several of them. In this case, drainage class. I can click on that. I can again select type of aggregation method that I want. Very important. It's almost important enough that most of the time it's going to be either dominant condition or dominant component that's going to involve, except in that example for the yields it's actually weighted average. So, but it's a good idea to maybe take a look at that the first time you go through and start pulling these things out to make sure that's exactly what you want. Here in Maryland, because of the data that we've got downloaded into our database, most of the time, I'd say probably 90% of the time, 95% of the time, dominant condition and dominant component are going to be the same thing when it comes to our single name map units, our con association. Once you start to get into our complexes with two dissimilar soils in them and named as major components, then that dominant condition could change. But most of the time, the dominant condition, dominant component, the data that's returned is going to be. Here's one thing I neglected to click on. Here you click on the legend on when you have a thematic map up here, and it shows you the different areas and what the different colors mean for that particular thematic map. It also has all the different things that are opened up, and you can turn these on and off if you want. Or you can turn off the soil map units, you can turn off the topo maps, the roads, etc. You can turn them on and off. Again, it shows the drainage class table that comes up. Here's just an example. Soil properties and quantities available, water 0 to 100 centimeters. There's no aggregation necessary. It's only one thing you're going to get each one of those things because, again, that's applied to our soil profile of that probably the major component what it's returning for you. Like I said, anytime printable version added to your shopping cart. Talk to you about the soil reports. Again, that's where you get several different interpretations in one table, basically, in thematic map. This is just showing the erosion or Russell II attributes. We have that particular table in here that you can select under soil reports. And again, it's showing you, one, it shows you the hydrologic group, the K factor, the T factor, and representative values of sand, silt, and clay. So I can't create a map out of those 5, 6, 7, 8 different properties, but I can get that data in a tabular form that I need. And I showed you that in the MS Access file, the brief mapping and description. Again, here it is, shows up here. Again, the Web Soil Survey and MS Access, they don't always have the exact same tables in there, but there usually is one or another to select through to cover what you actually need. But again, here it shows you the major component, in this case, Chrysaidor, 75%, and here's my minor components that are dissimilar, Matapex 10%, Elkton 5, and Kentuck 5. So those would be used, these would be used when I'm talking about my weighted average aggregation or possibly my dominant condition aggregation. Water features, just again another report of get surface runoff of hydrologic group, month, etc. They're all different. The soil physical properties of different reports that you can get out of the Web Soil Survey. The sand, silt, and clay, the actual texture, surface texture you can get down here. Bulk density, available water capacity, some of the qualities and features, drainage class, frost-free days, frost action, hydrologic soil group important a lot to the end, representative slopes. And again, you can build your own survey. Every time you've gone into one of these reports or one of these properties or suitabilities, add it to the shopping cart when it's printed out as a table, and it's going to add that to the shopping cart. So at the end, you go to your shopping cart, you can label what you want that report, if it's something special here. This is a Russell II related attributes report that I'm saving to the shopping cart, and it's going to know that it's going to be in the county, so I might put in there for whatever use I wanted that for, nutrient management, determined, etc. Parts of that custom report, you can turn these on and off when you get to that point there. You can, the cover is always going to be there to prefix the context. How the survey was made, you can turn that off or leave it on. You don't want the map, you can take it off, the legend, etc. So all these different things, references and glossary, you can leave in there or not. And then you can get it now, download it later. Here's an example of it. It kind of looks like our old hardback copies of reports that we did. And it's a PDF, so it's got a PDF with basically the other legends that you can click right to. And a lot of our private sector people actually do this and actually sell these documents, which is legal to their customers also. Go back here to, before I go into that final thing, I want to go back here. Let's see here. Talking for, so it's still running. Left off here at the dominant condition. We did that. Again, here's our properties and qualities. Quantities, we're just talking again about those two components that had in their Corsica and Evesboro. Pick these up. Surface texture, we can tell actually from the name of those hydrologic soil group. That's important. Do that rating. It's dominant condition. Comes up with the rating, Corsica, hydrologic soil group B and D, Evesboro, hydrologic soil group A. And there are a lot of information here that we can pick and choose from. And again, download the data. And ecological site assessments, that's something that they use out west a lot, pertaining to natural vegetation on the land. And we're starting to get it here in these full survey offices here in Maryland that are run out of Hamilton, New Jersey, and Frederick, Maryland, are in the process of doing ecological sites, setting them up, and eventually that'll be put into the Web Soil Survey, or trying to say maybe taking a crop field in the future and turning it back into its natural vegetation, and that's the type of ecological site description can kind of help somebody if they're looking to do. Let's see. I've covered that. I'm going to jump off of that, go back to the PowerPoint, and I just wanted to show you the new thing that we have out now. Some of you I know that are sharp with all the different media devices that we have now, that you can actually download the soils information that's based on the Web Soil Survey onto your phone, onto your computer, on your laptop, this being even outside of the Web Soil Survey, to a tablet, etc. These are two gentlemen out of University of California, Davis, that developed this, and it's up and running now. It can be on your iPhone or your Android phone. Just have to, it's kind of basically run with Google Earth. So if you download Google Earth onto your phones, then you'll be able to run these different programs. Going to their website, this is the website here that you can download it from. Just click on, just Google the word Soils Web. It'll come up. I think the first or second one is this actual site here that you go on to, and basically download this right to your phone or to your PC. So it runs outside of Web Soil Survey. So the Web Soil Survey is down, or if it's acting up, or if you're in the field and you can't get access to it, you can always go to this particular site here and this program and actually run it also. So here I Googled Soil Web, and this is the first one that came up was the California Soils Resource Lab. This is what it actually gives you on your computer or on your phone. It can actually give you the delineations of where you're standing. It's locked into the GPS of your phone. It has a lot of information over here as far as turning what you can turn on and off. You click on the map unit symbol there. It can come up with a lot of different stuff. You can put in an address, or even a Latin long, I think now, and zoom right to it, basically. So you click on that symbol, it gives you a little idea what the profile of that handbook soil looks like. You click on that handbook there, it opens up a whole other window of information also. You can also get that thing without the lines. So it'll GPS exactly where you are, but it won't give you any lines, but it will tell you what soil you actually are standing. Click on the blue at the bottom, number down here, and that brings up like it's a little block diagram that's related to that particular map unit. In this case, we were looking at that Pembroke map unit and how it looks in relationship on the landscape to other major soils in the area. And then you click on the map unit name at the top, and it brings out a lot of the information that we have in our database complex, what major acreage that we have in the survey area, the drainage class, inclusions that occur in that particular map unit. And clicking on the soil profile itself goes right to our official soil series description, which has a lot of information about that particular soil as far as its typical head-on, range of characteristics, similar soils to it, associated soils to it, type of thing. All right. That's about where I'm done. If there are any questions, I've got about 10 minutes left. At this stage, I don't know how we do this question bit, but help me out there.